Hey, what's going on, people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video I'll be going over the 5 best legendary shotguns that you can get in Borderlands 3. These are 5 of the best shotguns in the game, and I tell you what they do, how you can get the most out of them, and where you can get them so you can start dealing massive damage with one in your hands. And do let me know what your favorite shotgun is in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like. It helps to keep me motivated and uploading videos, and let's crack into it. We start this list of the 5 best shotguns in the game with the Anarchy, an immensely powerful shotgun from DLC 2. You can obtain one from any suitable loot source you find in the DLC, although I find farming Tom and Zam around in this area of Heart's Desire to be the most efficient method. The Anarchy is a TDO shotgun that gets exponentially more powerful the more people you kill or the more you empty the mag. That's because as you do those things, you will gain a stack that boosts its damage by 30% of whatever it is dealing at that stack. It caps out at 10, and because the damage increase compounds, it isn't 300% at max stacks, more like 1200. Safe to say at max stacks it's a beast, but its accuracy does take a hit too, although you'll hardly notice it. It has very little trouble against any type of enemy or boss. If you want the most powerful variant, look out for a x18 or x20 version. They'll consume 2 ammo per shot instead of the 1, but you'll empty the mag more often and therefore stack up faster. The anointment that boosts your damage by 300% against targets below 90% health is also a good roll with the hard hitting Anarchy, allowing you to one-shot most things you'll encounter, but whatever Anarchy you get, you'll be hitting hard when fully stacked. Moving on now to the Lob, which can come in any element and fires a single large elemental orb. It has an increased chance to drop from Grave Ward, who you fight in the Floating Tomb on Eden 6, but the drop rate is low, so I'd just look out for it to drop from the world. The orbs it fires not only deal great damage, but they also pass through enemies, allowing it to deal that same damage to multiple foes. They are slow moving, which limits its viability in some situations. Say your enemy is flying, moves fast, or is far away, then it may struggle, but by moving slowly the projectiles can deal a lot of damage. That's because the orbs don't act like a regular bullet. It's not hit your target and that's it. Instead they drain your target's health while in close proximity. It's a great effect, and you'll generally see their health go down in chunks as the orbs move past them. It also has a really healthy magazine size, and the fire rate at about 1.5 rounds a second is nice. Overall, it's a great shotgun which continues to deal good damage, even on Mayhem 10. The Brainstormer is another good shotgun, although not close to where it was prior to Mayhem 2.0, but it still remains a solid weapon. It's manufactured by Hyperion and has an increased chance to drop from Katagawa Ball you fight right at the end of Skywell 27. It always comes in shock, meaning it's adept at draining shields, but it's also adept at handling crowds of enemies thanks to its unique effect, which causes chains of lightning to zap between your opponents. You can have up to 5 chains active at once, and its damage is boosted by each chain you have going. It'll deal good damage to a group of enemies and also cause your game to make robotic noises, which it didn't used to do for me in the past, but maybe that's a new feature. Either way, the Brainstormer is a good shotgun that will strip shields off multiple enemies like nobody's business. Hopefully with the balance patch it can get to tearing through the other health bars like it used to, but for now it's still a good shotgun to have. Up next, the Recursion, another melee 1 shotgun which has an increased chance to drop from General Tron. You fight in this area of the map in Desolation's Edge. The Recursion comes in 2 elements that you can change between and shoots single high damaging ricocheting discs. These discs rebound between enemies, dealing more damage the more enemies they come in contact with. Like the Brainstormer, it's better the more enemies there are nearby, but it does lack that damage it needs one-on-one. You can often kill a wave of people when you've just shot at the one person, and in a mobbing situation there's not much better than a peak Recursion. It can also take down bosses with ease as long as there's enemies around for the discs to ricochet between. It does need to be charged before firing, which can take a little getting used to, and means its fire rate is slow. The damage it deals is more than enough to make up for that though, especially when hitting criticals, which further boost the damage of the discs as they ricochet between opponents, and the damage over time is also good. It's definitely best on Amara, who can reduce its charge time, make use of its elements, and dramatically increase the amount of ricocheting projectiles, but it is great on anyone and definitely a gun you should have in your Mayhem 10 arsenal. Before I reveal the last legendary shotgun in this top 5 list, let's cover some honourable mentions. First up, the Nothingness, a melee 1 shotgun exclusive to DLC 2 that you can obtain from Jamork, who you fight right about here in Cankerwood. The Nothingness, like most melee 1 guns, can come in all elements, has a couple that you can switch between and must be charged before firing. However, rather than automatically firing when fully charged, it fires after you release the trigger. This can take a little getting used to, as sometimes you might not be aware when it is fully charged, but it doesn't take away from the effectiveness of the weapon. The Nothingness fires a typical buckshot round that is accompanied by a series of small explosions. These explosions are similar than those of the Flakka, but smaller and more controlled within your crosshairs. It's a nice effect and essentially doubles its damage. You want to aim at your target's feet to ensure the successive explosions hit them, although in doing that you do miss out on hitting criticals. Overall though, the Nothingness is a good shotgun that deals high damage, but it is let down a bit by its charge time, which can't be reduced, well, unless you're Amara. However, your enemy's health will go down in chunks, and they're always decent ones at that. Another good shotgun that you should be looking at to fill your shotgun slot is the Tigs Boom, a torque shotgun that can only be obtained by defeating Wotan, the final boss of the melee 1 Takedown. The Tigs Boom has been buffed a couple of times, which is always nice, and it's currently dealing the most damage and working the most effectively that it ever has. It's a unique weapon, more unique than most, firing a typical shotgun round that brings with it a flurry of meteors that rain down on whatever you hit. Both the initial shot and meteors deal good damage and can decimate opponents. It can also come in every element, which is always nice, and the meteors deal splash damage at a decent radius, which is something Moes can leverage. Because the meteors are signaled by the pellets that hit your enemies, Ricochet Amara can increase the amount of them, therefore upping its damage even further. Its magazine size is generally small, around that 3 to 5 range, but you don't really notice it. The reload speed is enough to counter that, and it is really good value for ammo. The meteors can fail to land if you're not in an open area, and they will down you too if you get too close, but with that aside, it's still a great shotgun and very fun to use. Now to the last of the top 5, and it's the Reflux, one of the newly added guns that you can only get from Genevieve while fighting on Mayhem 6 or above. If you're wondering where to find Genevieve, she's located at the very end of the crashed ship, around in this area of Voracious Canopy. The Reflux is pretty much a Brainstormer ripoff, but better in just about every way. I mean, if you're gonna rip something off, at least make it better, right? Instead of coming in shock, it always comes in corrosive, which is arguably worse, but there's no arguing about the damage it deals, as it's close to twice as strong. Needless to say, it's extremely powerful, taking on crowds of enemies with ease and doing what the Brainstormer used to be able to do. It spits out corrosive tires which will lash on to nearby enemies, draining their health and dealing a boatload of damage. The more tires that are bound to your opponents, the more damage it'll deal, and there's certainly no shortage of damage here. Of course, it's better against armoured opponents, but it has no trouble tearing through shielded and flesh targets as well. It really is a force to be reckoned with, and it also receives a small critical damage boost thanks to it being manufactured by Hyperion. What can I say, it's a great gun, although it does take a while to get due to the poor dedicated drop rates, and I wish you luck in getting one. If you're looking for something to mob with, the Reflux is a great choice, and it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up to the Brainstormer once the balance patch arrives. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned of a number of great legendary shotguns that you can use to great effect on Mayhem 10. If you did, consider dropping a like or subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.